Last time, the squad escaped the Night Realm by working together, but how will they fare after being split up? Level 8, and so we wait for tomorrow. The squad is currently walking through a cave, and the path begins to slope upwards as a fog forms in the air. Ronta is being as insufferable as ever, but eventually they exit the cave into a fog-filled forest. Now they don't know their exact location, but according to Unjo, they should be in the former kingdom of Ishmal, which is currently controlled by the undead. Haru and Yume set out to scout the area, and after a while, Haru notices a presence trailing them. This presence turns out to be the hunter Kuro, a member of the Typhoon Rocks, which is a team in the Daybreakers. They decide to follow Kuro and end up finding another member of the Rocks, squaring off against 5 orcs. With the help of his demon and Kuro, Moyugi, the world's strongest Dread Knight, is easily able to dispatch the orcs. He then tries to kiss Yume before walking off with Kuro. Now at this point, Haru and Yume are completely lost, so they have no choice but to follow them. Back at the cave, we find the rest of the squad discussing how Yume and Haru should have returned by now, so they decide that Ronta and Mary will go out to look for them. Oddly enough, Ronta does seem genuinely worried about them. Well, at least Yume, that is. After walking for a while, the fog begins to clear, and they spot a cat-like creature which runs away after noticing them. A moment later, an entire swarm of cats arrive, and once again vanish. Ronta and Mary completely freeze up and stand back to back as they hear barking nearby. A pack of wolves quickly surround them, where they witness a goblin riding atop of the largest wolf. Jumping back to the cave, we find Shiho and Kuzaku commenting about the distant sound of dogs. We then get a rather intimate conversation which exposes Shiho's very quiet, but very observant personality. Suddenly, an unknown man named Katsuharu joins their conversation, claiming that he's from a place known as the Hidden Village. This Hidden Village is a place of legend, which is ruled by 6 houses of teaching, and this is also where Soma became an official samurai. Katsuharu informs them that the rest of their squad is probably caught up in the recent conflict, so he offers to show them to the village. Along the way, they stop to avoid detection from cat creatures which are actually enemy spies, and then they find an area with wolf and human tracks. Now, Haru and Yume are still following Moyugi, and they come across a large warrior named Kajita, fighting some enemies. Haru decides to move up, which causes 2 orcs to attack them. They each take 1 orc, but they are both forced onto the defensive. To counter this, Haru and Yume switch places, allowing Haru to find an opening to finish off his orc. He then uses stealth to land a backstab on the second orc, giving them the opportunity to finish it. There is many more enemies in the area, but due to the rocks, they are all eliminated within the next 8 seconds. Then after the battle, the rocks explain the undead race. Apparently, the undead are able to rebuild their bodies with parts they find on corpses, and in order to kill an undead, you must destroy its core. We then see Mary and Ronta, who have been captured by a group known as Forgan. It turns out that upon being surrounded by the wolves, Ronta had immediately bowed his head begging for his life. They find themselves at the enemy camp, which is filled with wolves, cat spies, and a multitude of intelligent races. They are both completely terrified, but Ronta realizes that his attractive female comrade has much more to worry about than just her life. A human man with only 1 arm approaches them, asking if they have any relation to the village. Of course they don't, and the man walks away, but not before informing Mary that all races find human girls delectable. Haru's group briefly stops to observe the priest Suga and thief Sakanami slaughter a group of orcs. However, they continue on as Moyugi displays a lot of interest in learning about their original world. Haru then spots the warrior named Rock, aka the leader of the Typhoon Rocks, and he is fighting alongside an unknown human girl. Our group then splits up as Haru and Yume move to support Kajita. Haru hides behind Yume, allowing him to use stealth to get an easy kill. Though the next enemy is overpowering Yume, so Haru moves forward to attack, but this was actually a feint as he backs away. Yume shoots some arrows, but none of them hit their mark, and Haru fakes another attack. Then seemingly out of nowhere, their opponent is pelted with arrows, as Kuro walks up, beheading the orc. This whole time, Rock has been fighting an undead with 4 arms, and they seem to be evenly matched. The human girl, who I'm going to call Ara, jumps into the fray, yelling something about fighting for revenge. They work together to push back the undead, who is named Arnold, forcing it to use its trump card. During this whirlwind of blows, Ara is injured, so Rock quickly grabs her and signals a retreat. Mary is currently falling into despair as she seriously contemplates taking her own life, and Ronta actually looks concerned for her. Though the entire mood of the camp changes as the lead orc named Jumbo approaches them. Ronta proceeds to run his mouth and now finds himself dueling against Takasagi, the one-armed man. Ronta attacks with all of his might, but Takasagi dodges the attacks without even using his sword. Eventually, he does draw his sword, parries an attack, which gracefully disarms Ronta. This forces Ronta-sensei to use his ultimate maneuver, the ye olde shamelessly grovel and beg for your life trick. Surprisingly, Ronta is actually accepted as the newest member of Forgan. Jumbo then turns to Mary.
What will you do?
Now Kuzaku and Shiho are sprinting through the forest trying to escape from enemy cats, and Shiho's legs give out, forcing Katsuharu to carry her. However, the enemy's wolves have already found them, so our group prepares to fight. Katsuharu kills one, Kuzaku knocks away another, and Shiho uses Dark to cover their back. Eventually, Katsuharu creates an escape path, but they quickly run into the pack's leader. They once again find themselves surrounded as Takasagi approaches, now accompanied by Ronta. Ronta attacks Kuzaku without hesitation, and Kuzaku would have been cut down if Katsuharu didn't step in to save him, though friendly reinforcements have arrived, forcing Forgan to retreat. However, Haru dives out of the forest, tackling Ronta to the ground. And during their struggle, Haru demands information about Mary, to which Ronta responds with, "Mary is mine. If you want her, come and take her." Ronta does manage to escape, but at least 4 members of the squad have been reunited, and they find out that Katsuharu is actually Ara's uncle. They follow Katsuharu back to the village, where Ara is immediately arrested. Jumping back to the Forgan camp, we find a scene unlike anything that we've witnessed so far. The camp is extremely lively, as the numerous different races all drink and party together. Ronta then approaches Mary, telling her that nobody will lay a finger on her as long as she agrees to be his woman. She immediately declines, and this pisses off Ronta, as this was his way of trying to save her. We then get a glimpse of Jumbo and Arnold, who to Ronta's surprise, both feel very human. The undead Arnold even goes out of his way to share his drink with Ronta. Haru is kicked awake as Rock explains that their best bet is to help each other. They proceed into the village where they find a house covered in cats. Moyugi attempts to charm the woman inside, but winds up being attacked by her golem instead. This woman is Satora, a daughter of the necromancy house who spends all of her time training cats. Now in order to rescue Mary, they will need Satora's cats to keep Forgun's cats under control. Satora is willing to help them, but she is a necromancer, and as such, she wants a fresh human eyeball as payment. Haru instantly agrees, even knowing that light magic will not replace a missing eye. Haru sits and Satora crouches down, slowly inserting her sword into his eye socket. By the way, only 30% of you who watched the previous episode were subscribed, so I would greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe, as it really does help the channel. So Satora crouches down, slowly inserting her sword into his eye socket, but she stops, pulls the sword back, stating that she will just retrieve it later. Skipping ahead a bit, we find Haru following Kuro into a ravine, where they spot Ara. Her hair has been cut short, meaning that she has been exiled from the village, and she is currently tied to a platform and being carried to Forgun as a peace offering. A pack of wolves appear and approach Ara, as the villagers back away. Katsuharu leads the charge as Kajita aggroes the wolves with a war cry. Then more enemies arrive as Kuzaku holds back 3 orcs at once, allowing Haru to dropkick one and backstab another. Yume and Shiho also support, and all 3 orcs are quickly eliminated. The squad makes their way up the ravine when Kuzaku suddenly shoves the girls to the side as he is trampled by a wolf. Kuzaku, the wolf, and the goblin rider all begin tumbling down the hill. The goblin is thrown off, and Yume prevents him from returning to his mount. Kuzaku is currently being mauled by the wolf, so Haru jumps onto the wolf's back, stabbing it with his dagger. He then jumps off, narrowly avoiding an attack, just as 3 arrows stab into the wolf. The wolf and goblin retreat as enemy reinforcements keep flooding in, and the squad creeps through the battlefield, aiding the rocks where they can. But suddenly the fighting halts as Jumbo, Arnold, Tagasaki, and Ronta arrive. Jumbo informs them that they are surrounded and outnumbered, and he wonders why they're choosing to fight in this hopeless situation. They explain that Aura is seeking revenge, and Rock gets pissed off and challenges Arnold to a duel. At first, it seemed like Rock had the advantage, but after a lot of back and forth, they are both reduced to nothing more than their fists. However, during this bout, the thief Sakanami uses stealth to get behind Haru, telling him that he will act as a body double. Then as Haru leaves the area, Shiho signals that she will take care of Yume and Kuzaku while he is away. While searching for Four Guns Camp, Haru stumbles upon a friendly cat which shows him the way. Upon arriving at the camp, he finds Mary guarded by a single enemy, which he easily eliminates with Spider. They quickly escape the camp, but are forced to hide as 5 new enemies approach. Ranta is among them, and he's aware that Haru is in the area. Haru then steps out to confront Ranta, and after some not-so-friendly banter, they begin fighting. Now, thieves are not meant to fight head-on, so of course Haru is at a disadvantage. If this keeps up, Haru is going to lose, so he uses the one move that Ranta hasn't seen. Haru unleashes an all-out assault, cutting Ranta's wrist, bashing his helmet, and sweeping his legs out from under him. He follows up by grappling Ranta, stabbing his dagger into his shoulder just before plunging it into Ranta's helmet. However, just before that final attack, Mary called out, snapping Haru back to reality just before he killed his former comrade. An orc is suddenly hit by an arrow, which gives Mary and Haru time to escape. They meet up with and thank Kuro, as Haru reflects on what could have happened if Mary wasn't there. Now, the next video should be covering Roka Volumes 1 and 2, but don't worry, because we will be back to look at the traitorous Ranta in Grimgar Volume 9. Shout out to my patrons, and thanks for watching everyone. I hope to see you next time.